good? Today is Tuesday, the 2nd of December 2025, and this is papertrail.com, a daily streaming all about governance, risk, and compliance in the UK for SMEs and mid-market firms. Right, so last week we spoke about closing the loop from risk management treatments to incident reporting. And this week we are reviewing evidence collection and the compliance bottleneck headaches for the UK SMEs and mid-market firms. And yes, they are headaches. And today's topic is overlooking critical factors in your evidence. And don't worry about acronyms, they are all explained during the streaming. And as a disclaimer, this is not a complete guide, neither legal advice, and always look for specialists and professionals in the areas you need them, although I will be focusing in reviewing three main problems. And as always, we are going to set a scenario. Yesterday, we nailed the principle. Evidence is the center of compliance, right? And today, we tackle the reason everyone struggles with it. And evidence collection become the bottleneck, not because people don't care, not because teams are slow, but because the structure around the evidence is flawed. And these are the three main common problems. Number one is the UK SMEs and mid-market firms handle 16 to 20 overlapping frameworks, each written differently, but requiring similar proof or evidence, creating unnecessary fragmentation like a GDPR, health and safety, sub-essential, ESG sectors, rules, or for example, product safety for manufacturing, or vehicle maintenance for fleet operators, and safety system at work for maintenance operation services. So all of them have similar evidence and require similar proof. The most common problem, the second most common problem, is that typical SMEs lose between 4 to 12 staff hours every month, and mid-market firms everything between 10 to 20 hours purely coordinating evidence, not creating it, not proving anything, not just coordination. And this is much higher during audit times, like HAC and Information Commission software workload guidance suggests that. So, and the most common problem number three is the biggest bottleneck is that the teams often collect the same evidence multiple times because frameworks describe identical expectations in different language or wording. So let's try to simplify this with example that actually is close home, if you may. Let me put this in this way. What are these 5 items? Itemized pay statement, pay stub, paycheck stub, salary slip, or wage slip. And probably you're guessing it already. So yeah, you're correct. They are exactly the same item, just an ordinary pay slip. The challenge is 5 departments separately requesting the same pay slip, but each one call it by a different name. Right? So you can imagine this, how complex start to get when you have 16 different frameworks, ISO, ESG, SRS, PECR, etc., and the number of wording about the same items start to multiply. So that's where the people start to go. They say, can I have the salary slip for X person? And people, what is a salary slip? It's a pay slip. Oh, right. Okay. So I need to find out. You see all these micro interactions multiplied again and again across all frameworks and different departments. So points to consider to solve this. Number one is introduce a single evidence owner per obligation, not per framework. This aligns with the expectations of the Information Commission's Office and the Health and Safety Executive regarding traceable accountability across controls. So they are named who is responsible for what. Number two, standardized storage. And storage is where you are filing things and can be hybrid, like a cloud and on-prem, or cloud. So you have one location, one naming convention, one updated cycle. So the UK audit guidance repeatedly highlights the importance of version control and currency. And number three, avoid this trap. Multiple departments duplication. map obligations centrally rather than letting each department interpret its own framework language. That is where it starts to get very, very complex, because remember the payslip example. So they are going to stand their ground that this is a correct way to name it, and the other guys will say the same thing. And we are talking about the same exactly evidence required, but there's a kind of a conflict because they have different ways to say the same thing. So you start to see how complex they start to get, particularly in SMEs and mid-market companies, where there are no dedicated teams, officials, or personnel with the company to run these compliance requirements. And we are mentioning here a few and not the whole platter of frameworks and requirements in terms of compliance. So there's no wonder that 72% of UK companies outsource and hire consultants, advisors, or delegate to contractors. And when you delegate it to contractors, also a delegation of contract is to your accounting firm, your accountants, or your law firm, or your lawyers. And this is according to a PwC report this year. So what you should be looking for, as I always mention in these live streams, that you and your company should have a compliance baseline, or at least a baseline in mind, so you can hire on your own terms. And here's a few suggestions how to hire on your own terms when we are talking about factors in your evidence, or what are the factors that have to be looked after when collecting evidence across different departments and you are outsourcing for help on doing this. Number one is what outcome that they're providing to you. Do they remove bottlenecks by aligning all frameworks to a single structure by pillars, themes, and obligations? So this immediately eliminating redundant evidence tasks. Number two, how they differentiate themselves. Do they handle coordination automatically? So reminders, version history, owners, and what exists versus what's missing, right? So this is what we have, what we need according to the compliance requirements. And number three, how they help you to reduce your risks. Can they provide a systematic approach where you provide the proof and the rest is handled around it? So avoiding this recurring cycle that drain your capacity of your teams and personnel, right? So here's one action to test this today. Ask each department what evidence they collect today and where. Remember, so it's evidence collection and location. Can they do both? And how long took them? Yeah. You'll find the same items, training logs, certificates, reviews, etc., repeated across teams. But if they have not returned to you in 10 minutes or less, you might need to consider another solution, as you might be at risk without knowing it, because there is a problem there. You need a faster solution, a more reliable solution, and an easier way to do all these things. That's why we develop PaperTrail. You get a list of replaced duplicated evidence work with a single coordinated model, and all of them ready to demonstrate risk and evidence. And remember, evidence is the most defensible position that you can have in front of an auditor, a notice, an inspection, or whatever is the case, because it's evidence, right? So you can stop activities that increase workload but add no value, like increasing your costs and labor hours and expenses in just redundant work. So PaperTrail is perfect for UK and SMEs companies and mid-market firms because you use the same control library for health and safety, GDPR, DVCA, Cyber Essentials, CPR, PCR. So there's no double entry. It's reducing your overlap by 60% and your costs by 80%. You have everything in one place. You can choose, right? Continuous gap analysis, clear view what's done, what is missing, who owns what, and who is accountable for the fixes before assurance or inspections or reports or audits hits you. So you can do it once, you can do it properly, and then move on to the things that are more important to you, which is grow your department or your company and be more profitable. So join waitlist, papertrail.com, and stay tuned. Tomorrow, I will show you how consolidation remove up to 70% of duplicated effort and why most firms don't realize the overlap exists. So have a great day.